You're on.
Good morning. This is the Town of Tufton Borough Selectmen's meeting for Monday, February 26th. Call it to order, and we'll please stand in honor of America with the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Following the agenda, the first order of business is the opening of library septic bids. This is the item that appeared in the newspaper, and I'll read it into the record. Town of Tufton Borough Septic Replacement, Tufton Borough Free Library, request for proposal. This project will consist of reconstruction of a failed septic system in a new location at 221 Middle Road in the town of Tufton Borough. The State of New Hampshire Subsurface Approval for Construction is permit ECA 201-801-0309. All work to be reviewed and inspected by the town of Tufton Borough and the State of New Hampshire Septic Inspector. Sealed bids for the project shall be in by 11 a.m. on Friday, the 23rd, 2018. Any bids received after this time will not be accepted. The bids will be open at the Selectmen's meeting, February 26, 2018 at 9 a.m. All bids should be mailed to Town of Tufton Borough, P.O. Box 98, Center, Tufton Borough, New Hampshire 03816. The drawings and specifications are available at the town office for viewing. Any plans that you want to obtain can be purchased, or PDF versions are available. For information, please contact Jack Parsons at Town of Tufton Borough, Town Offices, 240 Middle Road, Center, Tufton Borough, 03816 659 4539, extension 15. There were 3 bids.
Do you want me to get you a letter opener? I don't even think you want to.
I'll let you open them. Bid number 1 dated February 22nd, Evans Brothers, Wolfboro. Total bid price $20,430. Second bid, Stephen W. Hunter, Center, Tufton Borough, $19,800. Third bid, Gillum Excavating, Gillum, from Mirror Lake, $23,900. Fourth bid, Lehner Excavation, Lehner, Wolfboro Falls. Proposal $13,982. Any questions or comments?
So our low bid is from Lehner Excavating.
We're not awarding this today, though. Are we not waiting until
Correct.
Because I didn't hear conditions in the RFP that would be subject to the RME.
So are you saying that we're not going to award it subject to approval at town meeting, or?
I didn't hear anything in the RFP to that extent.
Right, all I did is read the ad. What are your wishes?
Well, I suppose we
I think we award it subject to approval at town meeting.
I'm a little concerned that when, let's say it doesn't pass, or the library passes, and the other one becomes moot, does the contractor now expect that they're gonna build a septic system in the library package? I mean, I don't wanna get any confusion going out there. Because whoever we award, or whoever the library trustees award the contract for the library is probably gonna assume they're building a septic system.
Well, I will give you my opinion, and just going back to the conversation we had early on about getting bids, is the failed septic system needs to be replaced as soon as we can do it, and not wait on design of a library, going through that whole process. The siting of this has been done with consideration to where that new building would be, in a location that was identified in the conceptual drawing that was done for the addition as where the septic system would be. So my thought is that we want to go ahead and get the septic system done as soon as we can get it done, and not wait until an addition to the library is designed and goes through that whole process, because it would be several months additional delay.
So you're saying we're gonna, let's assume for a moment the library passes.
Mm-hmm.
So we've mooted the second warrant article, or the third warrant article for the septic system. That we then separate the septic system from whatever RFP goes out for the construction of the library. And we just go ahead with.
Right. Out of the money that's approved to do the addition to the library.
You want to be heard, sir?
You're putting the bidding process for the dirt portion of the library construction in a kind of an awkward situation by awarding Part A to one contractor and not to another contractor. The fact of the matter is we're still going to have to get out there and do a considerable amount of clearing and dirt work to do that septic system. Now I understand that, I can understand your feelings, but even if it came to the point that we had to run a temporary line to a new system, because where the footings go for that addition are right out and the new septic system is behind. Personally, I'd be much happier to say, okay, well, we have, if you want to award the contract to subject to.
Let's assume for a moment that both of them fail. What have we done then? We've awarded a contract that we can't fulfill.
Well, it's subject to approval at town meeting, so that's, I mean, it's a conditional award. So if it's not approved at town meeting, then it doesn't happen.
One of the reasons for getting this information is so we'd have this information for town meeting so people
Right.
could make intelligent decisions.
No, I appreciate that. It's just, I mean, as Gordon said, breaking the project apart is maybe a little troublesome, but.
Yes.
And so, Bill, your issue is that, okay, we've gone through town meeting and now it's Thursday. We should start full force on getting the septic system in there so we don't have to pump it.
Return the plumbing system to the library to normal as quickly as we can.
You'll have your hand up.
Okay, thanks. I just had a question, because the way we did voting and the warrant articles,
Mhm.
the septic was only applicable if the library building didn't pass.
Right, because if the library building addition article passes, that would be part of, would be included in the total project.
Is there any figure on the septic system portion of your library design?
No. Oh, yeah.
No.
I mean, we have we have 100 in our initial, like a better phrase, dirt work for $155,000, which
That's
includes the septic system.
Foundations and.
Yes, that
all of
includes
that.
the septic system.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do we need to make a decision today on this? Can we table it to our next meeting?
Well, we're not gonna build it until after town meeting. I think we can table it until then, but, yeah, I think I need to think about whether or not we want to award. I don't think, they're all local.
Yes.
I mean, Evans, Hunter, Gilman, Gillum, and Laner, so I don't think they're going anywhere. Yeah, let's have a chat next week about it, can we?
Sure. That's fine.
I mean, I'm not trying to be obstruction.
No, and I
I
appreciate what, the point that Gordon brings up, but, my concern about saying, well, we'll just let it be, included as part of the, total package is designed and built as part of library expansion is, it further delays getting the plumbing system operational again.
One more thing, we had also discussed, and it might be interesting to talk to these 4 contractors. If the library is successful, that field could be constructed right away, because of course the field is beyond. Even if we end up with some sort of temporary pumping situation to get to that new field, so we could still go in and do all the footing work and the slab work. That might be something we can investigate as well, because we're anxious to get this in. As you well know, limited use of water. You have to really wash your hands, use hand cleaner all day. We're very anxious to get it done as well. But at the same time, it does the overall bidding process for the dirt work and the kind of awkward
So
situation.
it's just the field that's in failure, not the tank and all the rest of it?
Well, that tank is going to have to be replaced, because it goes, the tank and everything is right there,
Oh, okay.
and the field is off to the right. So it's,
This project is a whole new septic system.
that's correct.
So the tank invades the space that you're putting in the new library building?
Yes, the old tank does.
The old, so at some juncture, we're gonna be out without a septic system for a few days anyway.
Short of going out and building putting in the new
And
field,
two
putting a new
pipes.
tank operation, and then, as I say, some sort of temporary pumping situation.
Okay. And yet you haven't settled on a contractor yet at the library?
Oh, heavens no.
Okay.
Do you need a motion
Well,
to table this?
I'll move we table it.
I'll second. Any further discussion?
One further question for you, Gordon. Following the route of waiting, or of taking a separate look at the septic system again as part of the library package, once it, once we're past town meeting, what sort of timetable do you see in terms of, from that point forward, being able to do the septic work?
We have the plan. We have a septic plan. It's just a question of getting out,
Exactly.
getting the bidding.
And we have bids.
And we have bids. The architect's gonna have to finish, do up all of their work. We're probably looking at about a 2-month window before we're ready to start doing something like that. As I say, the field could be built, the field could be operational. It's just a question of perhaps how we have to temporarily reroute the effluent to that field.
Right.
The existing tank and all that is not in the footprint of the new building.
I'm sorry?
Just
The
not-
existing tank and all that is not in the footprint of the new building. The new tank for the new system is put outside of everything that's going to be constructed.
But the old tank is within the
And
footprint?
it is not.
Oh, it isn't?
No.
Okay.
No,
All right.
no, it's gravity feed out, the tank's out near the leaching field. they pump it out near the leaching field now. The new tank for the new system is outside of everything. The line going to the leaching field and all that is outside of the footprint of the new building. And the new building process through Bowen and all that, it's bid. So the excavation is going to be bid. The excavation can be bid without the septic. The excavation can be bid just tying the new plumbing from the new part of the building into the existing septic tank, which would be the new one if the new system's installed. So these are two separate issues. You haven't got a price on the new septic built into that new building because it's bid
Right.
for all the work that has to be done, including new septic. So if the septic's installed based on this contract, they don't have to bid on it. It's a moot point.
Then if you're using Bowen to put the bids out, is that
Yes.
ultimately? So maybe you could just contact them and see if there's any issue with us awarding this to someone else.
I did that today.
Great, thanks.
I'll call for a motion,
So you got a motion?
Yeah.
and we know what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's table.
Table.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Next item is kind of exigent. Karen? I have a note here from you. The amounts for the capital reserve fund and the capital donations fund in the library edition warrant article were transposed. You have corrected them on this copy of the final warrant. You need us to vote on the revised library warrant article and then sign the warrant article, correct?
Yes, please.
Everyone clear? I've read this. Is there a motion?
Should we read the revised
Yes.
article?
And that is Article 2, is it?
So I have it right in
4.
front of me.
Article 4? Is that the one you want read?
The
It's the
building
one
one.
on the library building.
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,920,000 to renovate and expand the current library and to authorize the issuance of not more than $1,094,000 of bonds or notes in accordance with the provisions of the Municipal Finance Act, RSA Chapter 33. To authorize the selectmen to issue and negotiate such bonds and notes and to determine the rate of interest therein and the maturity and the other terms thereof. Furthermore, to authorize the withdrawal of $416,000 from the existing library capital reserve fund and $410,000 from the library capital donations fund. The first payment on the bond or note shall not be made until the year 2019. 2/3 ballot vote required per RSA 33:8-a, recommended by the Board of Selectmen 201 and the Budget Committee 6-1. Any questions on what I've entered into the record?
No.
I need a motion.
I'll move that we sign that.
Sign the entire
Right,
warrant.
accept that warrant article language and sign the warrant.
I'll second that.
In discussion,
Go ahead.
just as the library's gonna have to revise their number at the town meeting,
Yes.
I think we're gonna have to revise our number as well, because we'll have accumulated interest going forward and have it, so we need to get an exact number, so
Yes.
I think both those numbers will end up being revised from the floor.
Yes, we can do that. We've done it in the past. Motion is made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor of signing this warrant, say aye.
Aye.
It passes 3-0.
And the original vote on that article will remain the same, right?
Yep.
Have we done everything perfunctory that we need to do, Karen?
I think I can write it up that way, as long as you all agree that it's to keep the same vote and approve the warrant.
Yes, we haven't.
Yeah.
Perfunctory. Nothing we do is perfunctory.
Yeah. Just pass that on to Karen, okay? Let's go for our public input. Thank you for waiting. Anything from the public?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So you have the septic system as a warrant article that's separate. So if you go ahead and accept the bid, if you can do that now, why is it on the warrant? You chose to put it on the warrant.
It would be subject to the vote of the warrant article. What we wanted to do was fix the cost so that when we're at the town meeting and we're debating that warrant article, we can be debating an actual cost, not a, let's build a septic system and nobody knows what it's going to be.
We have an estimate in the article, I believe it's $30,000.
$30,000.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the bids came in substantially lower than that.
So
So
you can lower
as we discuss and vote on that article on the floor, we have a certain cost associated with it rather than the estimate, which is lower than what the estimate is, which works well.
But now it's possible that you all will say, go ahead with this. And then
Before the town meeting.
you're still gonna wait.
It's all
Okay.
subject to vote at town
Okay, you're
meeting.
staying
It's
with
not,
that. I wasn't sure about that.
we don't have an additional 13,000 or 14,000 or whatever we decide on the budget.
But that's what I was wondering. So you leave it subject to a vote at town meeting with adjusted numbers. What you're talking about voting on is the timing of this. Whether you go ahead and do it immediately if it goes, or if it's part of the library package, even if the library is successful, you may want to have that done first.
Well, I think it's a two-step process here. First, we're going to award a bid subject to the town meeting, but I think we have to decide how we're going to tell the winning bidder what the
Yeah.
conditions are. And if the conditions are, you're going to, it might vary what they do according to what Bowen or whoever's doing the library construction, what their conditions might be. So I think there's some more talk once we
Okay.
make that move.
Go ahead.
Was the septic design included in that $30,000 figure, or would you do that outside of that $30,000? I'm just curious.
We've
The
already done
septic
it.
design was done
It was
last
done
year.
outside of
Yes,
that.
yeah.
So that was not factored into the $30,000?
No, it's already bought and paid for in
Good bids.
2017.
Right.
Good bids, that's nice news.
Yep.
That bodes well for other things.
Well, yep.
Okay, we'll move on with our agenda. Chief, come on down. How you doing? Happy Monday.
So currently for 2018, we've had 34 fire calls, 24 EMS calls, 0 service calls, 1 special detail for 59 total for the year, 3 gas furnace inspections, 2 oil burner inspections, 3 wood or pellet stove inspections, 0 life safety for 9 total. The tabletop exercise in conjunction with the Carroll County Coalition for Public Health that we talked about in the last Selectmen's meeting. It's going to be held at the Central Fire Station February 28th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And the following agencies have been invited. It's Lake Region Visiting Nurses Association, Central New Hampshire Visiting Nurses, and Hospice, Huggins Hospital, Genesis Healthcare, Wolfboro Bay Rehab, Tuftonboro PD, Wolfboro PD, and FD, Carroll County Sheriff's Office, EMD reps from Wakefield, Brookfield, and the person in charge is going to be Jeff Jones, who's the coordinator for the Carroll County Coalition for Public Health. And anyone that's looking for information on that, we'll be going over the pod setup, which is point of distribution. If we had some type of large incident that we needed to distribute medications, such as a flu pandemic or something along that lines, that's basically what it's going to be going over. Only it's not going to be in real life, it's going to be a tabletop exercise. And the reason why all these agencies have been involved because our area includes Wolfboro, it includes Brookfield, Wakefield, in those particular areas. And if the selectmen, if there's someone that wants to be available just to see what's going on, that would be terrific. The fishing derby this year was really quiet. We had no responses for the air vote, and I think that's probably one of two reasons. One, people were more aware this year, and two, the ice was really thick. Besides some areas that, reefs and bubblers and stuff like that, which is great news.
Now, which is great, but I have noticed, I'm aware that there are at least a couple of vehicles that have gone through the ice on the lake this year. So even though we have thicker ice in general, anybody that ventures out in a vehicle on the ice needs to always be aware that because of pressure ridges and currents and that sort of thing, there are always weak spots in the ice.
Yep. I would suggest that people, test as they go, and if you're going to be out there, especially if you're going to be out there alone or at any point in time, have some type of flotation, because that seems what gets most people is obviously the cold hits you suddenly, and then you're not able to swim out. So.
Not gonna last long anyway.
No, not at all. Engine 4 will be going to Lakes Region Fire to get an estimate on its passenger side cab. Pictures. It was on one of the ice storms that we had in the snow. It was going down into Elm Point at 2 a.m. in the morning, and after the call it was backing out. The rear tires broke free, and it slid over into a tree that was really close to the road. We only had 2 personnel that were with that engine at that point in time, and so they took the bigger truck instead of the 4-wheel drive vehicle, because they didn't know what they were going to be facing when they got down into the call. And then a third member came out eventually and brought the rescue down and helped them do a little bit of sanding in the area to get it out. It's very minor, and it was very slow speed, obviously, as far as it goes, but it's something that the guy who needs to be fixed on the truck to just make sure that everything is in working order on it.
This was an insured event?
It could be.
So
I gotta get an estimate to see if it's,
right.
Even at the threshold for that. So for now on, we're going to respond out with the rescue, and we've done this quite a few calls in the past month, as far as taking the rescue down in onto the really small roads and with the 4-wheel drive, and keeping the bigger trucks staging until they're found that they either can return or have to respond down in and get committed into the different roads and things like that. The septic system at Mirror Lake was not frozen. It was found that we ended up having an electrical problem. We had a breaker that had popped
On the pump.
On the pump, and that was a really easy fix and up and running. The department has transported a total of 5 times since the beginning of the year with the ambulance. We have the billing component in place for quick med claims. We have transported for various reasons. 1, Stewart's unit had mechanical breakdown. 2, the Stewart's unit traveled to the wrong area in town, which was a delay in its arrival. The patient was being treated in the ambulance already, and his condition worsened, and the decision was made to transport. There was a patient that was in an unsafe location in the middle of the travel lane on Tuftonboro Neck Road after falling, and needed paramedic care for pain control. We were at the paramedic level, and the ambulance ended up transporting for Stewart's arrival. And the other issues were multiple calls going on at the same time. Stewart's was diverted to the other calls, and our ambulance transported times 2. As the chairman of the Osprey Valley Mutual Aid, I'd like to update the selectmen in reference to the status so far with the sheriff's communication grants. The county had received phase 1 of a grant for $349,995, and that was approximately 2 years ago. This phase replaced outdated dispatch toning councils and radios in the dispatch center. Phase 2 of the grant that was approved and hasn't been expended yet was $4,444. This will be used to improve the current repeater sites throughout the county for police, fire, and EMS, currently dependent on a daily basis, and it has significant issues. Phase 3 that we've been working with is the third phase was asking for $1.3 million, for which would complete the build out of the different tower sites for a votive repeater system for simulcast. This is a lot of money and not looking good for approval. The current Sheriff Dominic Ricciardi and his staff have been working very hard to secure funds that will be used to make our county's radio system safer and more reliable for police, fire, and EMS. We've had several meetings and the different agencies, and I'm sure that you remember doing letters for these particular grants to try to secure them. If I hear anything further on the third phase, I will be sure to let you know as soon as that happens. I do have.
I have some information on the third phase.
Okay.
Go ahead, Chief. Go ahead.
So there's only $1.2 million to give out throughout the state. So 1.3 was more than what was available for everybody. But there were a number of, I'm on the committee, but I had to abstain from that vote, obviously. But the sheriff was there and explained it could be done in kind of a partial phase, along with the vendor for $540,000, which updates some of the receivers anyway, so they can, the county would have to probably come up with the rest for to finish out the simulcast. So it was awarded $540,000 for the third phase.
Isn't part of that privately owned? The towers and that sort of thing?
Well, some of the towers that we're looking at being replaced are on county property, and they're looking at moving it to a higher location on county property. Some of our towers that are currently, say, leased or we pay monthly for, yes, they are privately owned, but there's no tower work going to be done on them. They're going to be changing.
So this is all stuff that's
yeah, it's all stuff that's hanging on the towers and radios and stuff that are in the buildings and things, which is very expensive in the long run. I think that everyone's done very well to come up with the amount of money that they've come up with to get us this far. The system really does have problems, and I think that this will go a great distance to take care of that. So.
While you're both here, are you done?
I have one other item.
Go ahead.
I had Skip Hurt had come into the office on 12/20/18 and had a question in reference to Willian Road, and I just need to know where to go with this. Apparently there was a Rhymes propane truck that tried to pass through from Willian to Brown Road.
I do.
No. His GPS, he was out of the area. His GPS told him that it was a through road. Obviously, he got up into there and got into a position on ice and slid. Tuftonboro Farms apparently was called to sand to get the wrecker up into the place and to pull the truck out. Apparently, this gentleman was worried about losing his job, obviously. But I guess my question is that where it's really not a through road, Is there something that signs could be put up for?
There should be signs at both ends of that Class 6 road. I don't know that there are, but there should be.
I didn't go out to
Believe there are.
look at that.
All right.
But,
Every
I would
Class 6
check it.
road that we have in town should be clearly marked that it's Class 6, it's not maintained. And that will help people that are unfamiliar, that are following a GPS.
Right.
GPS is great, but what it's all based on is the 1948 road survey that was done as an update after World War II. And consequently, a lot of the GPSs, they don't recognize that it's not an appropriate travel road for sure. So that's something we need to make sure with the road agent that we
Is there a sign up there, Chief?
I don't believe so.
I'll check today, but I don't believe there's a sign.
I personally went up the Federal Corner Road end as far as the driveway to the camp. And it was bad weather, I wasn't gonna start walking through the woods.
You were looking for the rhymes truck?
It was long gone. I thought there was a sign that had tipped over or something way up in there. But I had this to bring up while both of our department heads were here. We continue to have problems with, and I'll go through the different things. People who use GPS, remember the 2 buses that went up and went through Terrace Pines a couple of years ago and destroyed our 800 feet of road in Wildwood? And we've had a couple of other instances on County Road over the years.
Oh, we had one just the other day on County.
Right.
Somebody plowing it.
Right. Where, for example, all of the vendors that go to the dump say that Sergeant's Crossing sends them to Ossipee. So my question is there anything with people who are into computers, and I'm saying this to the camera in case there's someone out there who owns Google or MapQuest, he hit the nail right on the head. These people who can't read English or are watching their dashboard go down some of these roads, and the thing that concerns me, what if the oil truck or propane truck had tipped over? then we're really against it. So the other thing is, and I'll keep talking, is plowing of class roads. I understand you located an individual who was doing a courtesy plowing on County Road.
Yes.
And had a conversation, thank you. You're still looking for the guy who's plowing Lang Pond Road, right?
Yeah, and figure out who that is yet.
Okay.
Well, Skip Hurt's plowing the Land Road.
Yes, the legal part of it.
Well, it's
road.
still a Class 6 road, even that part. It's the driveway to his
It's his
house.
That's right.
Yeah, there's
That's
4
where
year
it runs
round
into an
residents on
issue.
the
That's
road.
right. I understand it.
So maybe we should look at reclassification at that level.
It's the hill violates the town ordinance, like Winter Circle Farm Hill does. And there has to be a certain grade,
The grade is
too steep.
That's if you're putting the road in. The road's existing.
Yeah. Well,
And the road is
my question is, we block roads, we post roads for mud. Is there any posting we can do? Because the sign, for example, on County Road and these other roads just say pass at your own risk. But we actually, starting this time of year, limit traffic. We had the resident that lives down on County Road and Sodom Road in, that whoever's been plowing allows the water and sand to go right down into his parking garage or whatnot. My question is, could you guys put your heads together, whether it's barrier tape or temporary signs or something? Because what happens is, for example, some of these roads, they plow, and it happened, remember a logger plowed Lang Pond Road without our permission, and his trucks at first frost did a job on it, and Jim had to go spend money on a road we're not supposed to spend money on. So there's 2 or 3 issues there. So.
Okay.
I'm all for getting rid
So I
of
think
all
we
the Class 6
got-
roads.
What's that?
I'm all for getting rid of all the Class 6 roads, but I have to own 2,300 feet on one, so.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Be a little self-serving.
Yeah. So we have 2 issues here. One is we need to make sure that we have all of the Class 6 roads posted at at the end of town maintenance. And there's pretty standard signage, and I apologize, I thought we had signs up. And if we did and they've been knocked down, we need to make sure we get it back up. I mean, that's not gonna prevent somebody from going in there, but at least they're driving past a sign that says, not maintained, okay, so pass at your own risk. The other issue is the voluntary plowing of the seasonal roads that's causing issues for the roads and for some of the residents around that maybe needs a little bit more study, research to figure out the best way to approach that.
I wanted to go back and, I want to go back to the radios, and I'm just speaking editorial comment, and this is my observation, is, first of all, gentlemen, thank you for your effort. It hasn't been just this year, it's been years and years and years on radios. This is the 21st century, and I find it difficult that as our emergency people have to go from Center Tuftonboro to Tuftonboro Corner, instead of concentrating on how bad is the accident at the corner or how bad is the fire, someone having to switch radios. Because if I understand it correctly, Tower A and Tower B, it takes 2 towers just to reach a few miles in Tuftonboro. The other thing is, isn't it amazing that I can be at my family's house at Tuftonboro Corner, and my pager will not go off on B Tower, but it will at my house, and then vice versa. So, and I think we've had some instances where police and fire are in exigent circumstances, like at the dump in that area, trying to call out, and 2 miles away, the sheriff's office can't hear them. And I'm not blaming the sheriff, it's just a unique environment. So, gentlemen, thank you for your time and effort.
Do you have anything else?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Have a good week, sir.
You too.
Next. Welcome, good morning.
Obviously, part of the problem is we're hilly and the mountains interfere with the radio, so that's part of the reason why I need so many towers. But actually, it's worse than 2 towers to get from A to B. It goes from B, which is in Moultonboro, over to Belknap Mountain over and across the lake. Then it shoots back by microwave. The problem with microwave, it has to be exactly aligned. And there's so much equipment on the one on Belknap that if it's a strong wind, they might not align perfectly, or if there's a bunch of ice on it, especially, I guess it can cause some problems. So.
And it's not just emergency. People who have Verizon can see the county road, the tower, and it doesn't pick up their cell phones. So there's some unique issues with radios. As you can probably tell by my voice, we've had some sickness going through in the last couple of months.
You didn't bring it with you, did you?
I think I'm past it. I'm supposed to be, but today my voice is going. But so we had a fair number of call-outs last month. A couple of arrests, activities, not a whole lot off. A little bit down on motor vehicle.
More accidents, or one more accident.
New accident, not a big difference. Been a little busier starting out this month with a few cases that have involved a number of interviews and search warrants. So we've done mostly for electronics search warrants. We've been done, I want to say 3 so far. We may have to do a couple more in one case. So. It's we haven't, like I said, mostly been hit with people being out sick in January and beginning of February. So
hopefully you tell everybody to get their shots in the fall.
I got my shot.
Yeah, well.
And I still get the flu.
Yeah.
Actually tested positive for the flu. I got the
Different strain.
Different strain.
Yeah, they say it's like only 30% effective this year.
Are we all set on the parking ordinances that we had in the envelope?
We have to work on them.
We're
At
still
some
gonna work
point.
But that's on the docket to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to work on it, set up a time to work on it.
Go ahead, anyone want to address it? Parking issue? Go ahead.
Well, I think we're gonna have to spend some time on it. I don't think it's something that's
Okay.
conversational. I mean, we've been kind of kicking it around for a few months,
Well,
and something's coming.
First of all, from my point of view, you've done a lot of work and brought a lot of things together. I had 3 comments. Are there any comments, changes, or other considerations we want to do to that document? For example, I was going to say where it says chief, it's and or alternate. In other words, it's not just chief, it's whoever's acting in your spot.
Yeah.
Are there any locations that are not mentioned? And this is just not for today's discussion. And would it be possible to insert in the written sections those things that you just refer to as existing town ordinance? For example, what I'm thinking is when we do an update on the planning board, the end product has what is currently there, what's being added, so the people are voting on the entire new.
Yeah, I think the problem with doing that, I think I made some pretty substantial changes. I'm used to looking at that from legislature,
Yes.
because, you know, they cross out the words they're
Yes.
taking out, and they bold and italicize the words they're putting in. But if they're totally like revamping a section that really you can't match up because the wording's changed, they just say it's being replaced. So I kind of went that route because there's so many changes.
No.
I'm going to offer a suggestion. The 13th of March, we have lots of time.
Well,
That's election day. We're at the poll, we're there all day. So that would be an opportune time, I believe, for us to sit down and spend some time going through this parking ordinance.
Sort of a work session.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll be there.
And,
yeah.
yeah. And maybe the way to address these things is we can take a copy of the old one and we can kind of put them side by side and look at them so that we're understanding, you know, where the, I read through this and basically it looks to me like it's something that's taken a comprehensive approach to a situation in the past that was addressed by one document over here and then another document over here with some considerable period of time in between the two. So take the old ones, say, all right, that's all passed. If we take the best out of those and adjust it, and the best out of this, and make one document that deals with all of the parking issues in town, and bring it up to current, and then you know, we put it into force, and then we don't have any confusion as to, okay, well, is this piece up from the 1992 or whatever it is document the one we need to deal with, or to just have one current ordinance adopted by the board that addresses all the issues.
Can you get your staff to put together 4 copies of the old ordinance and 4 copies of the new stuff, and we'll just sit and...
Yep. That's basically what I did, is I looked at all of them.
Right.
But I also included stuff like, Lloyd mentioned the boat launch at Mirror Lake there, which hadn't been considered in any of the prior, and so I thought that ought to be looked at. And I think I also kind of comprehensively talked about, in a general sense, some of the parking, because we talked about this lot, this lot, that lot, but we didn't talk about this lot here, or any other, or up there.
That's where I was coming from.
And so I kind of added a few things, like generally, like vehicles have to be registered, vehicle, you know what I mean?
Sure.
No overnight.
We might want to look at boat parking. I mean, we got that half a slip up in Melbourne, and maybe we gotta sign, you know, short-term.
Right.
Well, you do address the parking on Union Wharf.
Yeah, the wharf we do.
So,
I wasn't sure what the status is of that one on that, I know we have
Well,
something
the
there.
slip that we have at River Reach is just there for, it's a convenience place, so when you're launching your boat, put it in, you can tie it there while you go park the trailer.
There's also like a kind of a wharf like along the
Well,
edge of Lake
there's,
Street.
there's the wall
Yes.
there, and we ought to address that in
I
some
think
way
that
as
is
well.
addressed in there, and
Okay.
it wasn't in ordinance before.
Yep.
Is there anything from Melvin Wharf? Because someone's moved
There's a
around.
parking there.
Yeah.
I addressed that. I don't know,
Well,
there was nothing in there.
we can address parking at the Melbourne Wharf as well.
Yep.
Boat
Because I don't
park.
think that
And we
was
should.
addressed in any of the prior, so
Right.
again, that's where we get into the whole, I kind of threw out like the Mirror Lake so that we
Yep.
have this discussion and see where.
Sure.
If we could
Wanna
just
go.
do it once, that'd be great.
Yep, yep. Come up with one ordinance that
I think
addresses.
that's, I think
all the
that's an
issues.
excellent
Yep.
idea, excellent suggestion. Do you have anything else for us?
Not today, no.
Does anybody have anything for the chief? I have a couple things. We talked about plowing Class 6 roads. Remember I passed on to you in February about the parking issues at Town Beach?
Yeah, we've gone down there, I haven't seen any trailers down there.
It seems that it's been much improved. I saw your cruiser down
Yeah,
there
good.
the other day, so thank you for being vigilant and passing it on to your guys.
Most of the time, the trailers, they're out on the ice, but we tried to, obviously,
We
I
right.
told them to put a card on the window and don't park it across the street, or you just can't have trailers down in that area.
Sure. The other thing is, I don't have a copy, but last meeting I read into the record a letter from the Attorney General, and without going into the names of the victim, it was the drug-related death
From
in
September
town.
of 2016, was finding a conviction.
And it was complimentary about you. And if I understand it correctly, both a man and a woman have been pled guilty and have been appropriately sentenced, right?
I believe so, yes.
Like that?
The victim's father thinks it should be longer, but given all the circumstances, I think it was an appropriate sentence.
Well,
Obviously like that.
Well, he's never gonna see his son again, so he
Yeah.
feels he has a life sentence, so the person should have that too, but.
Speaking of violence, does Governor Wentworth do active shooter training? Or any of that, are we involved in that?
We have done it in the past. We've obviously met, both Adam and I met with Homeland Security, with the school to go over their plan, which they worked on with the school, but we gave our input to. We have done the training several times, Moultonborough, Wolfboro, and the governor has just announced today a task force on it. I haven't found out any more than it's gonna be a collaborative thing with, but Homeland Security has been working for a while. We have maps, aerial mapping of the area. I think, plan on meeting with the principal and talking some more about it. We've tried in the past to get some alerting software into the school system here. They weren't interested. There's which probably worked out in the end because the company just went bankrupt. But it's a software system that you can alert faster than trying to go through 911. I don't think they realize that when you call 911, there's a limit to the number of calls they can handle at a time. And also, if you're using cell phones, it's quick to overload towers.
that's what happened in Columbine.
It happens a lot when there's major events going on, or just sandwich fair overloads towers. So you have to, so ideally there's another method of doing that, which there was a software option to do that. They weren't interested. They thought they could use the phone system and call. That's got to come from the superintendent's office.
Well, keep the dialogue open.
Oh yeah,
That's
definitely.
important.
I mean, as I was quoted in the paper Sunday, it's our most, in any of these towns, it's our most valuable asset.
I'm in a unique position with this school, and I'm aware of some proactive steps being taken long before the latest incident. Anything else for the chief before I pay him a compliment? This is Lloyd Wood speaking. As you know, I have another job dealing with juveniles, and I get out in the county. I was in the town where the two people that you folks arrested and as far as I'm concerned, put away. I'm talking to a selectman over there and a police officer over there, and they said, you tell Andy Shigori he never gave up on this case. So I want to shake your hands for all of our young people and all of our citizens. I want to say thank you, Chief. Your efforts are appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll genuflect.
Thank you for your modesty. I'm not here to embarrass you. You deserve some
There
credit.
is
I mean,
the
the
wife's
case
name.
worked out. The case worked out. I mean, we had what we needed pretty quick. They actually had somebody somewhat arrested very quickly, and we got lucky. Unfortunately,
Sometimes you make your own luck.
485 people died due to overdoses, same numbers in 2017 so far that they've accounted for. It's almost the same number as 2016, so I don't know that we're making any dents in it, but
Better.
it's, and then they're talking about closing some of the treatment centers because of funding, so I don't know that we're
You know, we have a warrant article for a new one.
White Horse.
White Horse.
White Horse.
Have you had experience with them? What is your recommendation? To
To
put you on the spot.
They do a good job. I mean, it's needed. They do a good job there. I've heard very
They're
positive.
still gonna depend on grant funding. I mean, they're not gonna get all their funding from communities, so.
Well, I think what's happened is, some of the bigger, obviously when Manchester set up Safe Station, I've actually heard of departments, we haven't done this, but I've heard of departments drive their people there. Well, all of a sudden, Manchester wasn't just taking in people from Manchester, they were taking people even from other states were coming there for this program, and then that overwhelmed the receiving facility from there, because it was only meant to be a pathway. And some of these places have not been able to keep up. And there's talk last week of 4 or 5 other treatment centers closing in the state due to lack of contracts and paybacks from the state is part of the issue.
Cut.
Anything else? I'll have a
Thanks,
good one.
Chief.
Thanks.
Have a good one.
This- Oh, yeah, sure.
Next item is business, is the
Can I have one
review
too,
of, excuse me,
I was just talking to him. Thank you.
is the approval of minutes. 2/12/18.
I'll move approval.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. And I think we have 2 non-public.
Right.
I have no changes to either.
Well, February 12th,
Yep.
we never sealed these, right?
No.
That's
Okay,
correct.
so I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Did we have 2 sets of,
Not that I'm aware of.
okay. Okay. Next item of business is signature file, a red folder. We already did the first item to help Heather out. I'll just start on the top. This is from Karen. Dear Selectmen, it's come to my attention that people like realtors, appraisers, etc., that purchase access to Avatar software for the town tax information do not have access to Tufton Borough's property owners' mailing addresses. They end up having to call us for the information. I spoke to Avatar and they let me know that if we would like to allow publishing of mailing addresses, the town just needs to sign the attached document. This is at no cost to the town of Tufton Borough. Read the paperwork?
Yeah, I looked at it.
Do you have any questions?
Seems straightforward to me.
What are your recommendations?
I move that we approve it.
Okay, is there a second? For purposes of discussion, I'll second it. Let's go to discussion.
I'm not sure that giving out personal information through Avatar or our system is something that is necessary. I mean, what?
It's not protected information.
Yeah,
It's,
it's
I
here.
know it's not protected.
it's mailing addresses.
I know it's not protected information, but we don't need to be parties to encouraging this sort of thing. I mean, you have a vote, and it's gonna be 2-1, because I'm not, I think there's far too much private information or personal information getting pushed out, and I don't think I want to be a party to it. My feeling.
Okay. Well, I'm on the fence.
It's a philosophy.
I'm on the fence. I'll ask it from a different way. How many phone calls a day or a week do you get?
I probably get 3 or 4 a week asking for the address because they can't see it in Avatar. Or they come here and they take a trip. I send them Excel, it's already here. Like
What's
when
the
they, the computer on the counter.
When you say they, who are they?
It might be Norway Plains, it might be a real estate agent, it might be insurance company, or an appraiser, I should say.
It could be anybody, right?
Yeah, it really is. And they asked me to send Excel sheets to them, which I do, and then our thing at the counter has the mailing address already.
Yeah.
But if it's something, yeah, so.
What do other
And it's gonna
towns-
be online, it's gonna be on.
What do other towns do?
I don't know the answer to that question, and this is all gonna be online soon too, with what so that's some of the topic of discussion, because you know how you folks passed to have the tax cards put online, so.
Yeah.
But-
I will tell you that among the towns that I work in, which is probably a quarter of the towns in the state, 85% of them have the information is online already. That doesn't mean it's the right thing, okay?
Well,
but
it doesn't mean it's the wrong thing.
Right.
It's just I'm not convinced that it's necessary.
we are not leading the pack in entertaining this,
Right.
and it's I guess it's to me, I see it as much as anything else as a question of how we use our resources, which is, do we want, among the many things that folks on staff here deal with, this is something that can be removed from the ongoing, can you give me this address so I can send whatever to these people, or and leaves more time in the day for handling the other tasks that are on the desk.
One thing I thought of too is, I'm certainly for the privacy thing, I thought of that's my whatever, but just for what we had available to the public, it would go with that. But the one thing I just thought of was, when people have to send notices to abutters for whatever they might be working on, that's their responsibility to do that, I suppose, if they didn't have the mailing address. Do you know what I mean? It's just something I thought of. But
Actually, when you apply, you need to supply that information to the planning board or the board or the ZBA.
right.
So it isn't really up to the. Yeah, I guess I'm not gonna change my mind. I get too many phone calls every night from too many sources, and if I have some reason for you to be in contact with me, you know it, I know it, we can make arrangements.
Exactly.
If I have no reason to be in contact with you, then you need to go out of your way to figure out how to get a hold of me to make that arrangement. So I guess my vote's gonna stay the same, but I appreciate what you're saying about resources and allocation of time. I think that's absolutely important, but I'm not trying to convince either one of you of anything. I'm just giving you my personal opinion.
And I understand where you're coming from. People are intruded on too much as it is, so. But,
Yeah, you just become part of a algorithmic path.
right.
I'm a Luddite, I guess, all right.
Are we clear on the motion? Are we ready to vote?
We are.
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion, any opposed?
No.
Motion passes 2-1. Thank you for your discussion, guys, it's healthy. Next is from a tax collector, is yield tax levy for map 54-1-13, and it's for $2,465.45. Folks read it?
I move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. I'll go on to the next item, and this is for Veterans Tax Credit. This individual qualifies as spouse for the All Veterans Tax Credit. It is for map lot 32-2-7. The applicant meets all the criteria. I recommend awarding a $500 All Veterans Tax Credit. Sincerely, Karen. Is there a
Move
motion?
approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Next is a Veterans Tax Credit for lot 52-1-32. Applicant meets all the requirements. I recommend the awarding of 500 standard Veterans Credit.
I move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. The next one is for map 4-1-7. This applicant meets all the requirements. I recommend the awarding of a 500 standard Veterans Credit.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Next is lot 46-2-5. Applicant meets all the requirements. I recommend awarding a 500 All Veterans Credit.
I'll move approval.
And I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Next is, I need your approval for a letter to be sent to our representatives William Marsh, Carol Crawford, Glenn Cordelli. This is in, and I'll read it into the record. Reference HB House Bill 1802. We are writing in opposition to House Bill 1802. Under this bill, the excess statewide education property tax, SWEPT, would be transferred to the state rather than being retained for local use. For the town of Tuftonboro, this excess SWEPT is projected at $1,049,806, which represents about 10% of the town's current total tax effort. Enactment of this legislation would result in an increase of Tuftonboro's tax rate of $1.07. to maintain existing levels of town and school district services, or it would force significant budget cuts to offset the difference. We are encouraged by the Ways and Means Committee voted 15-6 to kill HB 802 and to request that you follow their recommendation and vote this bill as inexpedient to legislate. Sincerely, the Town Board of Selectmen. Okay to sign it, gentlemen?
Is it only 10%?
It's my calculation.
Well,
Well,
so you
I-
went through the exercise?
Huh?
Okay.
Yeah,
Including
it's,
everything.
huh? Our total tax effort's just over 10 million bucks,
Okay.
okay, and this is $1 million bucks, so, yeah. It's,
Then I'll move we sign them.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
And it is encouraging that Ways and Means voted substantially
Yes.
against it. What I said, 15-6 against it.
Thank you for researching that, though. One last thing to sign, and these are the days that it's fun to be a selectman. Stated today's dates to Nancy Bird, 85 Mirror Lake Drive, Mirror Lake, New Hampshire. Dear Nancy, we've been informed that you are moving to Wolfboro and must resign from the Conservation Commission. We want to thank you for your many years of service to the town, and we also want to commend you and your husband Dick for your work monitoring the quality of water in Mirror Lake. This data has been crucial to understanding any changes in water quality in the future, as well as monitoring the success of projects designed to reduce phosphorus inputs. We also want to thank and recognize you for all your volunteer time working on the well testing initiative. Many residents, both permanent and seasonal, can thank you for helping to make them aware of the potential health risks associated with well water in our town. Many of these people took the opportunity to have their well water tested and learned if they needed to take remedial measures to protect themselves and their families. We would also like to thank you for your many hours you worked to write and edit portions of the natural resource chapter of the master plan update. Your near perfect attendance at the Tufton Borough Conservation Commission meetings and support for Old Home Days activities has been exemplary. We are certain that Wolfboro will benefit from your change in address, and we hope that your future is bright. Sincerely, the Board of Tufton Borough Selectmen, Lloyd Wood, Bill Markison, and Chip Albee.
So I have two questions.
Go ahead.
Has she stepped down from the Conservation Commission?
I think at the last meeting she submitted her.
She did submit a resignation?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine, because I know there was some question about the timing on their move. I had correspondence from Dick that said they moved, and somebody else said, well, no, they're getting ready to move, they haven't left town yet, so
Right.
at any rate. If she submitted her resignation, I think it's perfectly appropriate to send her the letter at this point. If she hasn't yet, I don't want us to get the cart in front of the horse. That would be my only.
Okay, well, I'll double check that, okay?
Yeah.
Do we need a motion, or is it just something we do?
You want to wait to sign it?
Well,
I mean, it's not really-
as long as she submitted her resignation, then I think it's appropriate to thank her and send her on her way. As I say,
I will
so
double check
if
that.
if you're confident she's submitted it, great. If not, let's just do it next week. How about that?
I haven't seen the piece of paper.
Yeah.
No, she and her husband Dick, I think 2 years ago, were surprised when the Lakes Region organization awarded them at their annual meeting. You know,
Yeah.
Dusty Davies was the year before, and then those two, they've done a lot for the environment. Okay?
Yeah.
That is signature file. Next we go to Selectmen's update. Gentlemen, you have anything?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
That's something to do, right? It's been a little time. I talked to Steve Wingate, the chairman of our Conservation Commission, about the problem up on the Witten property bordering the Wolfboro injection.
Yes, the RIB and is this the purchase of land?
Yeah.
You sure?
That's the proposed purchase.
Yep.
I didn't get the indication from Steve that we actually know what the extent of the problem is on that land that the town of Wolfboro is trying to buy. So that's first and foremost an issue. I think that we need to know what it is that's been done, if it's pollution, how polluted is it. The whole piece, which is I think 65 acres, is in medium density residential zone. So whatever they do up there, if they were to get 5 acres of land, there's a whole process they need to go through. The first part is that they're only looking for 5 acres, they're not looking for 65. So they need to go through a subdivision. Wolfboro can't subdivide the land. The Stockmans have to come forward with a subdivision proposal. And they would be creating a 5 acre lot, so they have to have access somehow, because it's way the heck out and back. At that point, it's medium density residential. They need to get a variance, because it's, you know, it's not going to be a residential lot. It's going to be an industrial lot. It's going to be for whatever purposes they're going to put it to. And talking with the town manager in Wolfboro, his statement to me was that it's the gravel deposit in Wolfboro, that area, which was supposedly going to work for an injection series. This property in Tuftonboro doesn't comport with that geologically. So my question would be, what's the public purpose? I mean, what's the public need? It's obviously not to expand the injection system. It's to have some sort of buffer. I'm making some presumptions here because I have no idea what their plan is. But it must be for a buffer zone or some other thing. And so I guess any number of questions arise. Are we trying to get a hold of the 5 acres so we don't have to clean it up? You know, or we could do a substandard cleanup or a less intensive cleanup. But short of having a public need, a subdivided lot, and we can get into the variance at a later date, but short of those two things, there's no eminent domain available to them. Even in the obscure reference there is to actually having one town exercise eminent domain over another, which probably, given Wolfboro's status in the state, they might be able to get through that portion of it. But you still have to present a public need. And if the public need is just to clean it up, that's not a public need. They can come into a Tuftonboro, clean it up, and go away. I mean, they don't need to. And then we'll follow up. I mean, if they can leap over that number of hurdles, now we get to the point where, okay, we've got 5 acres of industrial variance property in Tuftonboro. How do we tax it? You know,
Should we invite
I think
Wolfboro to come
I think we need to either invite them up.
to our meeting
Or
and,
go to
and
see
answer
them.
some questions so we better understand what they're
Yeah.
dealing with?
Because I don't think there's been a lot of I mean, I don't think they've ever come to this board with the nature of the problem with their injection system, the extent of the spillage, if there is spillage, or their remedy. I mean, we're actually, should have been parties to that. If the spill or whatever failure ran over into Tuftonboro, we should have been
Notified of the.
Yeah, invited to participate, but we weren't. So at any rate, and they've received some kind of judgment against their builder or their designer or whatever. But so they're trying to restructure this, and I think they.
Is this something one of you want to investigate and set up whatever the appropriate?
Why don't we just invite them to come to meeting next week?
Yeah, I'll invite them up, see what they say.
Sure.
But I think there's more questions than
Well,
there are answers.
I've talked to you, I've talked to Steve, I've talked to the people in Wolfboro, and no one's being adversarial, it's just due diligence.
Yeah, but nobody's being overly informative either. So I think, and they want to have a meeting on an eminent domain notion on, I think, the 21st of March. I think they're pushing that way too fast, because they...
Cart in front of the horse on this.
Yeah, there's the horse and cart issue that Bill brings
Yeah.
up from time to time. So,
Probably too often. Yeah.
No, that's legitimate, so,
yeah. And saps running, so
yes.
we're making maple syrup. Sugar from trees, the Tufton Grove tradition.
Yes.
Yep.
Anything else update?
That's it.
Do you have anything update?
Planning board has seen an increase in activity, which is always a good thing. At our meeting on the 15th of February, we we acted on 3 applications. One was a boundary line adjustment between a couple of lots down toward the lake. That's pretty much cut and dry. The second one was a site plan review for conversion of a residential garage to a small commercial automobile service facility.
And that didn't need any sort of ZBA.
No, it's in the neighborhood business zone already, so it meets all the zoning, but it does require, because it's commercial, it does require site plan. Things like oil and contaminant collection system that's approved by the state and those sorts of things. The third was a boundary line adjustment between a couple of lots up on Federal Corner Road. And then we also had a preliminary consultation on revitalizing a subdivision in the neighborhood of Federal Corner that was approved sometime back, and it's just lay dormant. But it is encouraging to see some activity going on in the community. The planning board's regular meeting for the first has been rescheduled to the 8th due to a staff conflict, and we do have an application coming before the board on that date, the 8th, and I apologize, I don't have that in front of me. What else? I will be attending an informal meeting tomorrow at the LRPC having to do with the pavement survey that we're looking to engage them in doing for us this year. We got a preliminary price on it, and Dave Jeffers wants to run through and kind of explain the kind of stuff that they do in the process, and I think that will be helpful. That's all I have.
On the planning board issue, I don't know if you people received it or not, but I received correspondence from a Pamela Hicks referencing a budding neighbor built a large commercial garage just across the brook from her property. Did you get a copy of that?
Haven't seen it, no.
This is what it is.
And where is the location?
123 Middle Road. Did you get a copy
So
of
that's,
it?
so,
What I'll do is I'll just leave this as correspondence
yeah.
with you, so.
All right, so this was, it looks like it was something that was posted on the website.
Yes. Now, it says there are attachments, but I don't know how to get the attachments, so I'll just submit it under correspondence.
Yep. 123. Well,
Where's 123?
yeah.
Royal Acres.
And again, this was relative to the issue we took up on the 15th of
Well, I'm including it in the file.
Yeah.
It's,
Okay.
as I explained to these people, one selectman has no power, but I always,
Yeah, I don't
Is
believe
this
that.
something we should refer to the planning board or to
Uh,
someone else? ZBA? Building codes enforcement officer, does he have, he must have some information.
Well, this is
I think George has
the
one.
issue we dealt with on the 15th.
and this
And
is,
there was a hearing on it, and she indicates that she'd received notification, but she did not come to the hearing.
okay, I'll just include it in
So
our,
that's all gone through proper channels, is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay, she just didn't happen to show up.
Right,
Slept on her rights.
yeah.
yep, okay.
So she's out of state and unable to attend the meeting. Yeah, okay.
This has to do, I have a citizen in the last weekend who spoke to me that he has another, I've received another question about passengers in the town plow trucks. And I left a note for Jim, could you check it out and report back to me? I think we had a question similar to this when he was here last time, correct?
Right. We
What he-
actually made a,
And what he
To the
indicated
position.
was that they may,
excuse me,
that nobody but his employees are in the town trucks, that if somebody's riding in a plow truck, it may be one of his trucks.
right.
This was a town truck, and in talking with the person, I said, could it be one of his new drivers or a wingman or something like that? And the person was not being adversarial, but asked me about it. I said, I'll pass it on. The next is, I left I think last time he was here, he told Jim that there's a beaver problem developing on Mirror Lake. Has he gotten back to us on that status, Karen?
I just mentioned it to him.
Okay.
I don't have an
We'll
update.
hold that for the next time.
No,
Here's another fun thing about being a selectman. At the last Conservation Commission, we had a half-hour informational meeting by James Duncan on the state dragonfly survey. And
nice.
there's a printed copy here.
I have
James,
millions of those things.
yes, James was one of the starters of, in 1966, the Conservation Committee, and he served on it for years. But I have a copy here for people to read, and she's going to make a color copy for me so I can send a copy to the library. It's just interesting. The other thing I have to bring up is Paul Matlock sent me an email and also inquired about funding for the library. And I'll read the message. I have some questions about the warrant article for the change of use for the capital reserve funds for the library. Could you speak to me about it? This is the warrant article, and jump in. As I understand it,
I haven't spoken to him. You've got as much information, you have as much there as I have.
right, as I understand it, the warrant article to allow the selectmen to be the agents and to apply it has to pass by 2/3. Is that correct?
That's what DRA says.
Yes.
I'm not completely in agreement with it, but that's what we're gonna do.
Right.
We questioned that because it's a change of use on a capital reserve fund. They're saying that it requires a supermajority.
Yeah.
So,
That was my question, so.
And I received a similar question.
Yep.
And I was asked if it had to be a ballot, if it was a ballot vote or a show of hands. And the answer to that is it will begin as a show of hands. The moderator has control on that. And if someone makes them, if it passes by a vote to be a ballot on the floor, then it would become a ballot vote. So
Yep.
that's my,
same as any article.
Yes,
Yeah, somebody
right.
can call for a private ballot.
Yeah.
So he asked me the question, I said I would
perhaps.
pass it on, and again, I explained to him, one selectman has no power, we speak as a board. Anything you want to add, or are you all set?
Speaking of the warrants, on the warrant articles, I just want to make sure we're in agreement. I came in on Friday to sign checks and read the mail. And there'd been an email from Max regarding information on the petition warrant article. And my position that I stated to Diane was, she did exactly the right thing. She did not give him the legal opinion that was received from the local government center. That's our job.
Yes.
I mean, we empower these ladies to gather information
And
for us.
facilitate, yes.
And they can give out things on a right-to-know basis. But when it comes to deciding whether or not we're gonna give the legal opinion that was given to the town out, that's a decision we can make. I mean, I didn't see in that particular case that it made any difference whether he got it or
And
not.
I think it's on our non-public for today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but I like the way the system has worked, and and Max can demand all he wants. We're gonna have to have a process, or everything starts to break down.
Okay.
Great.
Correspondence, Greenfield. This was just added. Dear Selectmen, this is the first this is a bill to Jim Bean from Lakes Region Planning for the 50% due on the contract for the Tuftonboro culvert inventory. That was done last year. It's for $1,250. And she asked, where should the second bill be placed? And she recommended road preparation.
Whatever account we put it in last year, we ought to put it in the same account this year. I don't remember, but I mean, it's, and I was dismayed that the bill did not come in until after the turn of the year.
So when
The
you're
project
over
was-
there meeting on the paving issues, bring that up.
Yep, I will.
I
I'm
was
trying to
gonna-
remember to.
I was
raise
going
that.
to ask permission to go see Jeff personally and have a conversation with him. You know, I don't want to alienate anyone's affections, but bills need to be sent appropriately.
Well, yeah, it's not unlike the DES deciding that we're gonna have to test the landfill twice this year.
And letting us
Let
know,
everybody know in February.
after, afterward.
So, do you want to follow up on that? Or
Yeah, I'll follow
Okay.
up on it tomorrow.
Okay.
But as it relates to the question, which is where do they put it? I think it goes in the same, whatever account we put it in last year, we ought to put that in this year. And,
Yeah, it was a road
yeah,
project.
if you can make a copy of that invoice, so when I go over there tomorrow, I hopefully won't forget that that was one of the things that I was gonna.
All set on that?
Yeah.
Next is from Gina Lassard. It's referenced the Aquatics Director. Hi, please let the Selectmen know that we'd like to recommend Isaiah Henrichson to be hired as the Aquatics Director for this summer. He is currently a junior at Gordon College. When he's home for spring break, he'll be able to fill out the necessary paperwork and have the background check done. He was recommended by Kevin Van Brunt, and after Ann McNamara and I spoke with him, we think he would be an excellent fit for the program. His work experience is attached. What would you folks like to do?
Well, if he's coming in for spring break or come out here for spring break, maybe we should not only have him organize the testing or the background checks, but also come in and interview with us.
Sure.
Just, or at least do a meet and greet.
And if Gina would like to come in with him, that's fine.
Yeah,
Yep.
sure. But his resume looks great.
Yeah,
So I certainly think we could recommend that he
Sure.
be hired, but it'd be nice to meet him.
sure.
So wait until, invite him to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I would say invite Gina and him in whenever it's convenient for him.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice that Gina is really trying to get these things out of the way long before the ice melts. So she's done a good job. Also from Gina Lassard is the Park and Recs meeting. We're going to switch our meetings from the first Thursday of the month to the second Thursday of the month.
So that's voting, town meeting, a full week.
No, the second Thursday is the 8th. That's the week
I
before
thought you
town
said
meeting.
she was switching to the
Oh, the
second.
first Thursday's the first.
From the first to the third.
Right, we're doing the
From the
second
first to the
Tuesday
second.
voting day.
We'll give you a copy.
It's Thursday.
I know this is the third day I'm gonna have to go to a meeting on the road, though, that's all I was saying.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
No, yeah, all right, but the second Thursday is next week. Voting is the following week.
Yes.
Yes, because the first Thursday is the first, which is this week.
I'm gonna have to have remedial calendaring.
We'll have to go to a binary system.
Yeah.
I'll have to, yeah, really, that'd be
Yeah.
nice.
The next is from Jack Widmer. He's working with Jack Parsons and has okayed that they've worked out the details on the credit card. His preference is Capital One, but Bank of America is also fine. So just wanted to touch base to us where we were. Jack's going to be the one in charge of it. Any problems with that?
No?
Do you have a preference whether Jack Widmer does the application process or you like Jack Parsons to do it? He's informed us that it goes on with the individual, which
Yeah.
is unlike what I've been told for the
So the
chief.
card is for Jack Parsons?
For
It's
the
kind of related. It
Jack in the position.
I was gonna kind of look a little more into it. to
Why
be
don't you
honest with
look into it and use your
Because I
judgment?
talked to
okay?
Chief Shigori and he doesn't recall that being the case before being
Mhm.
pinned to the person.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't
Yep.
write that update there.
Yep, please feel free to investigate that and
Okay.
go forward.
All right.
Here's a copy of RSA 664, reference political expenditures, contributions, and political advertising, which deals with the signs. Dear Selectmen, this was a request submitted prior to April 1st. Request an extension be granted. This is from Frog Hollow Forestry. Anything you want to talk about? This is for lot 1745-18.
It's an extension of what, the timber?
Timber report.
Oh, the timber
Correct.
report.
That's correct.
Can we legally do it?
Yeah, he did it by the due date and everything. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just
And
need
that's
a,
from Mark Hebert. Have you folks read
just
it?
need a motion for you to approve it.
Okay, I will move approval of the extension
I'll
on
second.
Timber Harvest for 17/455/18.
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. This is from the University of New Hampshire. Is it okay to post flyers, reference, well, I think it's gone by, the teacher residency for rural education. It says the deadline to apply is February 16th.
Oh, is that right?
Nope, so it's gone by.
Well,
Yeah.
never mind.
This is correspondence from Diane, reference the information petition with the warrant article.
We're gonna deal with that in a non-public, yeah.
Okay. This is from Marty Porter to the Tuftonboro Selectmen, reference cemetery abandonment. Thank you for taking the time. This is just a letter to Karen and the Tuftonboro Selectmen. I won't read it all, but their descendants, and they're thanking the town and the cemetery committee for preserving their graveyards.
Yeah, this was the one that we had to follow up with to make sure we have a lady's wishes and they do
So
declare it
she wrote
abandoned.
to us, you responded to her, and she sent you this letter saying that they don't have a problem with.
That's correct.
With the abandonment,
Yeah.
correct? Okay.
That's right.
Good, well, I'm glad we got that covered up front.
Yeah.
Meant to do this while the chief was here. It's a compliment to one of his officers, Officer Cook. I won't give you the name, but I'll just paraphrase it. I just wanted to personally thank you for being so kind to our son, as well as my husband and myself, after our son's car accident Sunday night. As you know, it's so hard for any parent to get that call. You were calm and reassuring, which made it easier for us. Our son is a little banged up and bruised, but going to be just fine. Thank you. What a nice compliment.
Yeah.
And make sure that goes in this file, okay?
Yep.
I'm sure you will. This is from Jeff Hayes, reference. Lining up communities interested with Dave Jeffers. This is what you talked about.
Right.
Nice job. This is more about the road surface. All the other things are just kind of routine. Other business.
Karen, did you hear, you heard from Jim this morning, right?
Yep, about posting of roads in March 5th.
Okay, so he's requested authority to post the roads on March 5th. So I move that we approve that.
I'll second. Any discussion?
Until March 5th, until when?
It's until things dry out. Yeah, so.
I just saw a sign in Maine that said posted in Maine. I'm thinking, Jesus.
On where?
Over in Maine.
Oh, yeah,
I think, you know, if you have to pay truck registrations when you want to get to use the road.
yeah,
Excellent point.
75% of the
Yeah.
time, that's a little tough to take.
yeah. So normally they're posted for a few weeks, as I recall.
Any further discussion? Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Any other business? You came back?
Just the federal corner side is marked, not a through maintained road, but the sign is missing
On the other
side.
end. Ah, okay, thank you.
And there was, while I was there was a car lost, trying to.
Make their way through it.
Well, that was fortunate.
Works out
Did you
well.
tell them where to go?
No. They figured it out pretty quickly.
So there's a sign at Federal Corner, but not a sign where?
On the Willen side,
Oh, the Willen.
and you can get yourself into a
Yeah.
pretty good predicament.
Yes.
There's a section of Willand Road that is class 6, and it runs through to the end of Federal Corner Road. But both ends of it ought to be posted so that people understand that it's pretty wild and woolly there in the middle. And I think there's a sign on the north line down at the end of maintenance. Going out toward your property.
There was before.
There was, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if there's one
I don't
in
think
there.
it's still there, I haven't seen it.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's another route to check.
I had a
Are
question.
you all set? Go ahead.
I had a question, and it applies to what you said. Skip Hurt talked about the Ryan's propane truck having a problem on the land road, right? And is that A&D or E&D?
A&D.
A? Okay. And then someone said, was it Tuftonboro Farms?
Yes,
What's that?
that's
What's Tuftonboro
Frank
Farms?
Chinchita.
Oh, and so,
That's a
was
company.
there a question about a bill to the town? for
No.
that?
No, nothing to do with that. They were contacted by Skip Hurt.
Oh, he just told you that.
Yeah, he was just informing me of what had taken place.
Okay, so the
Was
Tuftonboro
concerning.
Farms, Tranchita helped out Ryan's propane.
Right, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Most interesting
I got a
thing
comment. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, sir.
I got a comment in reference to Chip, and I agree with him as far as releasing the mailing address and people's names. My question is, if that's the case which you voted on, and Karen, does that get placed on the open website of our town website?
The mailing addresses?
Yes.
That's something that if it passes at town meeting in the budget,
Okay.
that would be,
So if that's the case, I can go in, take all that data, and possibly sell it to about 30 or 40 companies that I know for their mailing list, so we can get more junk mail in the mail.
it does relate to that, you're right, and some people do request it for those purposes.
Bill said there's about, he deals with maybe 85 towns or something like that, and most of them have already done that. it just seems like it adds to, you know, yeah, if they want, they could call you, but we keep giving everybody everything. I mean, they already know our lives in the first place. We're just helping it along. It's just a comment on my part, and I just want to say that. Thank you.
Now, my understanding is, as the access to the Avatar system is set up now, in our town, if you want access to anything other than the most basic information on the tax cards, you have to subscribe to it. Okay, so.
But this is just mailing addresses and names. That's all they need. You know, just to put it on a flyer like we get in the mailbox every day. You know, where'd you get this from? You know. So I'm being cute here. So I'm going to take the data and I'm going to go and sell it to all these companies. It's another job. I mean, I don't get enough time to do it. So.
Well, I know that when political parties or interested parties want to get a copy of the voting list, they have to pay for it. I mean, it's a revenue line item in the town clerk's budget. So, I mean, information's valuable, obviously, in this town.
Thank you.
You know, if I was a businessman, I'd just send it to box holder. And I'd send it class 3.
Yeah,
For 38 cents.
It's a thought that came across my mind.
Yep. Go ahead, sir.
I too will say thank you for trying, Chip. I get enough junk mail as it is, and if I want to sell my house, I know realtors, I know survey people. Thank you for
I'm
trying.
going to die in my house, so.
Yeah.
I hope to die in mine, but not today.
Now we can only get rid of cell phone people telling me that they're gonna help me get rid of my college loans.
Yeah, you skip
Yeah.
loans.
I
Yeah,
get
I
close,
get that
yeah.
all the time. Yeah.
Any other business? Okay.
So we do have 2 non-publics.
Yes, we do.
We're going to take a little.
Thank you, folks.
Stand up.
Yes.
Seventh inning stretch.
Yes.
Actually, got a real woman one.
I tried, you know, you
Oh, we need to move to go into
Doctor?
non-public.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As soon as
that'd
she
be
does it,
great.
yeah.
Yep, we actually got a real woman.
Need to go into non-public for,
Could you please do L first, please?
yes,
Yeah.
for 94A 311L, consideration of legal advice.
And also review of,
That's the second, but it's gotta be separate.
Also move.
Second.
All those in favor, Wood, yes?
Marcus and yes.
all BS.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
The second